Greg Koukl kind of brings about this chapter with saying, don't you find it weird that during Christmas and Easter time, there's a lot of articles that suddenly get written about how Jesus never existed, or 22 reasons why
the
Christ
real story about Jesus
never rose from the dead.
Yeah, or the real story about Easter. Yeah.
Why is that? And so you kind of look at the headlines, and people never read the story.
And oftentimes they say experts say.
Yeah, experts say, or most scholars say Jesus never walked on water. It just means by the water. And it's like, where is that coming from? The Jesus seminar, and they put little pebbles in a bowl, and so the pebbles represent how many people think Jesus actually walked on the water. So
that's a way to find truth. Just count noses.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Peer review. That's peer review right there. So what do you do when academic opinion is not on your side? Whatever academic opinion might mean. Yeah, so we want to use what Greg Koukl calls the Rhodes scholar approach. The Rhodes scholar being kind of this learned person, but also questioning, why is that person learned? Yeah. In what way? In what capacity? In what field are they talking about? Are they speaking outside their field? So the purpose of the Rhodes scholar approach is to assess whether an appeal to an authority is legitimate or not. I say a scholar says this. Can I understand what that person's saying? Are they speaking in their field? Are they speaking outside their field? Because, as we all know, everyone has a podcast now, and so everyone has an opinion on everything.
That's right.
So are we using our scholars appropriately, and can we kind of question the scholar, him or herself, and then on top of that, question what they're saying? Yeah.
So this is kind of interesting because a lot of what we believe we know is based on authority, right? It's based on what scholars. I mean, take for instance, how many planets are there in our solar system? Well, they say there are 8, right? When I was a kid, there were 9, but they kicked Pluto out. I guess it's just a dwarf planet now or something.
So they don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, that's what the experts tell us, and we what do? We accept it, right? Because that's what they say. Sure. So an awful lot of things that we believe is based on authority, right? I mean, if someone was to say, so Tony, how do you know that's your real name? Well, let's see. Well, that's what my mom said. Oh, so that's an authority, right? I mean, that's an authority. Or I might say, well, that's what the birth certificate says. Well, wait a minute. That's what they told me the birth certificate.
You were switched at birth. That's not really your name.
Right? And so awful lot of things are that we believe are based on authority. So the issue here is, so what is the problem with, this issue of authority? And so that's what he wants us to deal with in this particular chapter, right? How do we handle it, especially if an authority doesn't seem to agree with what we believe is the case, right? What do we do about that? And I mean, do we automatically accept everything that a person who claims to be an authority says, right? So he comes up with this, as you mentioned, this tactic, Rhodes scholar, right?
Right.
So this tactic hinges on the difference between, and notice this, informing and educating, right? So he wants us to understand that particular distinction. Are we being informed or are we being educated, right? And so what is the distinction here? Well, he says when an article tells you what a scholar believes, then you've been informed. The scholars believe this. That's information. You've been informed. But he says when an article tells you why the scholar holds that view, then you've been educated, right? And so in other words, you cannot know if the reasons are adequate for the conclusions unless you know what those reasons are, right? So being educated is really just knowing the reasons behind a particular position. And so we get right back to this whole idea of argument, right? You recall he said an argument is kind of like a house. The conclusion is the roof, and the reasons are, the walls are reasons that support the roof, right? He's getting back at the same idea here, right? So when we're considering what an authority says, we have to ask ourselves, okay, fine, what's the reason for why they say that? Otherwise, we're just being informed and we're not being educated, right?
And we want to be educated.
Exactly. Right. And so he says popular articles, they do inform us, but they don't always educate us, Right.
So we're talking about the things like, most scholars agree that Jesus never walked on water. That's the information. You've been informed.
Right.
But what they don't tell you is that it comes from the Jesus Seminar, and they hold it because, well, we don't really think Jesus did a whole lot of miracles.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, none.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So,
because miracles can't happen, right? And so they make that assumption. That's a presupposition that they work from.
Yeah.
And therefore, as a result of that, they say, of course, Jesus didn't walk on water. Right.